Hey y'all, it's Jennifer. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am coming to you with a beach reading vlog. I think this happens annually now. I am at the beach for the week and I thought I would carry you along with me. I have so many books that I want to read and the weather is really beautiful right now, but it does look like it's going to turn. I think tomorrow in particular it's going to be raining all day. We just got here, we just got in, and I went to my favorite place. Got fried fish. So I'm already happy. I feel like I've already achieved vacation happiness in the first 30 minutes of being here. I am currently reading a book on my Kindle, but I always struggle to read my Kindle outside. I don't know if any of y'all also have that problem, but I really struggle to see it outside even though I have a Paperwhite. So I did bring a lot of physical books and I think I'll probably shift to something physical so that I can read out on the beach tomorrow. I think tomorrow it's going to rain, so it probably doesn't matter, but it's really gorgeous out right now. And so I think I may go out right now and read a little bit, but I'm sure you don't really care to see me. I mean, you would rather see this. There she is, absolutely beautiful. The lighting's not doing me any favors. My hair's not doing me any favors, but we're at the beach. Let's just deal with this, and let's actually deal with the fact that you can actually see the ocean from this location. I don't think any other time that I have filmed at the beach or filmed anywhere that you have been able to see scenery out of the window behind me. So I fully thought I would update prior to this moment, but we've only been here, less than 24 hours, and I have finished a book in its entirety. I fully intended to update in the middle of this reading process, but I read essentially in one sitting Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, which was one of my most anticipated releases of the year this year. And this is essentially about a white author who sees her Chinese-American author friend die in front of her, and she steals her manuscript and publishes it as her own. And so essentially the book is really just a downward spiral as this woman becomes more and more unhinged, which you would think is absolutely impossible. So there's a lot of humor to this, and there's a lot that's really funny about it, in my opinion. I really, really loved this. In fact, I rated it 4 stars, and I think what I really liked about it the most was that I feel like it was designed for somebody who is chronically online, and specifically someone who is chronically online in bookish spaces. I feel like the booktubers among you and the book reviewers among you will really get a lot out of this, because I feel like that was the conversation that was happening, was about publishing at large. And I kind of have to wonder how people will respond to this who are not in the publishing industry or a book review or anything like that. People who just don't constantly consume book content, because it felt very insular in a way, which I thought was fun and I thought was really fascinating. And what I really liked was kind of the inside look at publishing that we got through this book, and the decision-making process behind kind of which books become bestsellers, which I thought was really interesting. It's very uncomfortable to spend over 300 pages in this character's head. A lot of it's really funny, but there is just an anxiety-inducing quality to this that I don't know is that enjoyable, but I personally really liked it. And part of the time, I almost wanted this chick to get away with this because I wanted the book to keep on going. I wanted to see how far this character would take it, and it was just genuinely jaw-dropping how crazy this continued to get. I think this is marketed as satire. I don't know that satire is ever my favorite genre or is ever something I really respond positively to, but in this case, I really did. So the first book of Vacation has been finished. I can't believe this. This was really short though, so I'm not that surprised I read it in under a day, but I am about to move on to something else, and I don't know how I'm feeling about this. I immediately started, after finishing Yellowface, I immediately started Loyalty by Lisa Scottoline, which is a historical fiction about the beginnings of the mob in Sicily. And I'm not even 20 pages into this, so I don't know what I have to complain about, but I feel like off the bat, I want to say that I feel like this is strangely poorly written. I don't feel like this has a lot of complexity going to the prose, and so I don't know how I'm going to feel about this. It's a really long book too, so I don't know if this is really the best one to continue on with, but this is what I've started. Do y'all want to put on suntan lotion together? I figured you did. This is my favorite sunscreen for the face that I've ever found. It's by Avène. It's a French company. I love French skincare. And this is Avène. It's 50, and it's one of the few sunscreens that does not break my face out. But I wanted to go on and do a reading update because I went off the walls last night. So I know that I was last talking to you about Loyalty by Lisa Scottoline. I DNF'd it. I really did. It wasn't even that far in. I don't think I got 50 pages in. I really thought the writing was choppy. I thought the writing was strange. I felt like the sentences were just kind of all over the place. Like they didn't really give us much in terms of description, but also in general that the characterization was weird. There were so many characters in the book, and that's a book that's about like the start of the mafia in Sicily. And so I know I'm kind of set up to like it. I decided that I'm just going to try it on audiobook when I get home. On Vacation, I DNF like so fast because I really do not want to be in a reading slump on vacation because this is really one of the few times of a year that I get to like read unobstructed for days on end. And so I really don't want to be in a slump. But I automatically gave that book to my mom because she finished a book yesterday. And she was like, well, if you're not going to read that, then I'll read it. And she has not noticed any problem with the writing so far. She did say that she also felt as though the sentences were a little bit choppy, but other than that, I don't think she's noticed anything strange with the writing the same way that I did. But I just decided, hey, you know what? It's for the best. I'm just going to DNF it for the time being. I'm not putting suntan lotion everywhere because I'm going to wear a long sleeve shirt and I wear a big hat. So I'm just putting it on areas that are truly going to be exposed to the sun. I have been sunburned so bad before. I know I've told you all this before. I had blisters come up and a doctor told me that meant that I had a 2nd-degree burn at least. I said, yeah, you don't have to tell me that because I felt it. So now I don't play. I go out completely covered. It's better that way. But I started In the Place of Loyalty last night. I started Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, which is most famously kind of a dragon book, but it's also a fantasy romance. If I'm not mistaken, Rebecca Yarros is in fact just more primarily a romance author. I'm about 80 pages into this. It's a really long book, y'all. It's really long, but it has been so much fun so far, and something has been happening on nearly every page. And I felt like it's just the kind of quick moving narrative that's really exciting and I think is full of very interesting characters. I think this is precisely what I needed. Last week when I picked this up, basically everyone I saw reading it was like, this is my favorite book of the year. This is the best book that I've ever read. And now, since it's come out, I have heard more that people don't like it. And I am interested to see how I feel. I'm currently really enjoying it because this is about dragon riders, but the main character has a chronic illness that basically means she's not really ideal to be a dragon rider. And so she really feels like she shouldn't be doing this, period. And I really am enjoying the chronic illness representation, just thoroughly enjoying this. I'm about to go out and sit on the beach, as you might can tell. And so I'm planning on getting a good ways into this today, and I'm really looking forward to reading more of it. But I kind of woke up early this morning and I decided that I would just lay in bed and read kind of in the dark while everyone else is still sleeping. And so I picked up my Kindle and I started a book called North of the Stars. This is a Viking romance. Y'all, I'm 20% of the way in and I'm obsessed with this. I'm truly loving this. I really, really like this. And I love the male character so much. So much I love him. It's just so fantastic. I have been hunting for years for a Viking romance that I felt like A, I could enjoy, but B, that I could recommend. And I think it's really difficult because a lot of Viking romances that were published in the 80s and 90s are just very dark in terms of essay from the hero to the heroine. This is also what I would call pretty dark, but the violent scenes, and especially scenes of kind of semi-essay, nothing has been put on the page or even described as essay, but I get the sense that it might come, sadly enough, but it's not between the hero and the heroine. And I think that's where my cognitive dissonance lies and stuff like this. Romance is a fantasy, and in a fantasy world, do you want your man to do that to you? No. There's no way that some of these dudes could come back from that, in my opinion. And so I really respect what this book has done. This has to be the most modern Viking romance that I've ever read, but I am thoroughly enjoying the way that it's written. And I can tell that Monica James, the author, put in quite a bit of research. It's also just taking place in my favorite time period of the Vikings, which is in Anglo-Saxon England. So I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Please forgive this. Like, please forgive my hair. I literally look like the Wicked Witch of the West. But I just wanted to pop in and say, Fourth Wing, absolutely incredible. I'm halfway through it and I'm really obsessed. I mean, not to be just like everyone else who's reading this and who's absolutely obsessed with it, but I just really, really love the characters. Something has been happening in nearly every chapter that I feel is really imperative to the plot. And I feel like as I'm describing all of this by saying that I'm engaged in the characters, that I'm excited about the plot, I feel like I'm asking for the bare minimum from books. By asking for that, that should be the baseline of enjoyment of any novel. But it's been so long since I've been like obsessed with a book, obsessed with wanting to know what happens next. And for me, I feel like that often comes in the YA new adult realm. And so I'm really excited that this year I found a few adult fantasies that are really scratching that itch for me. It's been just a great reading year for me so far. I feel like I'm finally learning what I really like, and I feel like I'm targeting books that I'm going to give a high rating to. I feel like even the books that I haven't really enjoyed this year, they haven't been ones that I hated or that I wouldn't recommend to anybody. I feel like I am really enjoying a lot of current fiction right now, and I'm glad to be here because it seems like for the past few years, my anticipated releases were some of my bigger disappointments. Fourth Wing is one that I think has split people down the middle, but I personally am really, really loving it. And I think a lot of my enjoyment is the fact that I just adore Violet, who is the main character. She's just so delightful to read about. And I really love dragons. I love books about dragons, what can I say? And I feel like these dragons are really interesting. It's weird to compare this book to something like Priory of the Orange Tree, where I feel like the dragons were fairly mismanaged. And here I feel like the dragons are fully formed characters that I'm also really invested in. And I think that's largely why I'm enjoying the book. I just love all of the character moments, whether that's between human and human or human and dragon. Like, I'm just really here for this. I love it. We're getting ready to go to the Dollar Tree and pick up some things that we forgot. And I think I'll probably go into the Island bookstore. I think if they have anything, I think I'm going to try an Emily Henry. I feel like now's the year. A lot of y'all have recommended Emily Henry to me over the years, just because it seems like a lot of people say that her books have a lot of character development in them. And when I said that's something that I'm really interested in, Emily Henry is often an author who gets recommended to me for that. So I will carry you along. That's kind of what my eye is out for, I think. So I will go on and spare you from this shaky camera. I am going to get ready to go and maybe read a little bit of the book that I'm reading on my Kindle, The Viking Romance. I think I'll start that next, but really, what should I do? I should do something with this. Hello. Hope that you can hear me over this. I'm sure that you can't. But I was going to set up the tripod and have it like hook onto the balcony railing like I did one year. I just don't think you can hear me, so you're going to have to deal with the shaky cam. But I finished Fourth Wing, and I have to tell y'all, I rated it 5 stars. I think I would give it more accurately like a 4.5 out of 5. I don't think that it's a true 5-star, but it's definitely one of the best books I've read this year. And I feel like this year I've given out more 5 stars than I have in any year previous in the time that I've been on BookTube. So I just feel like this has been a great reading year. But that continued to just get better and better. I feel like it went down for me a little bit in the second half. I just wasn't as interested in it. Of course, the air conditioning kicks on the second that I come outside. But I felt like I wasn't as interested once the real action and like the real plot of the story kicked off. I was more interested in them training, which is weird because that's not normally my favorite part of any fantasy book. But I really, really enjoyed it. I stayed up late last night just because I knew I had to finish it. Today it is very windy, so they did not put out the umbrellas. And so I'm kind of stuck up here on the balcony. I went down to the beach this morning, but I just cannot stay in the sun very long. So I am back up here. But I did go to the bookstore yesterday, which I hope you saw footage of, and I picked up 2 things. One of these, please don't judge me. This is The Sea King by C.L. Wilson. Yes, look at this cover in all its glory. This is a fantasy romance, and this is entirely going to be blamed on Emmy. because she hauled the first book in this series, I think this past week, and she talked about like ignoring the cover because she had heard the story was so good. It seemed to me like it was a series that could be read out of order, and the bookstore had the second one, not the first one. I'm really excited about this because it feels very appropriately beachy, but my current read is a book that I picked up at the store. That is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Can y'all believe this? The day has come that I'm reading an Emily Henry book. Several of y'all have recommended her to me when you heard that I was really getting into romance because her character work is apparently really great. And so far I have to say that I really do agree with that. I think this is an incredibly well-written and well-plotted story in that I really care about our main character outside of her getting into a romance. I really, really like her. I don't know how most people feel about Book Lovers. I really wanted like beach read or people we meet on vacation, but this is the only Emily Henry they had, and I knew that I really wanted to try her. I am thoroughly enjoying this so far, and it does feel appropriately like a beach read. It really feels very lighthearted, easy to read, just the perfect book to be reading here at the beach. So I will keep you updated. I feel like I'm just trying to do really pithy updates here and there because I still have a few days left here at the beach, and I know I'm going to plow through more books, so I feel like I need to keep each review relatively short, but I have thoroughly enjoyed what I've been reading here. Guess who finished Book Lovers and who is now an Emily Henry fan? It's me. Can you believe it? Did you see it coming? I didn't see it coming either, but I almost rated it 5 stars. I ended up rating it 4 because there was this big emotional plot there in the last third of the book that I just felt was incongruous with like the rom-com style, and really I did not like being made emotional there at the end. I didn't like it. I felt kind of emotionally manipulated, but the characterization was so good. It was so rich. I was really invested in them as individual characters outside of the relationship. I don't know, it was just very, very well done. And thus, this will not be the last Emily Henry book that I read. I can promise you that. I will definitely be reading more from her. And I want to update on North of the Stars. Y'all, this was bizarre from start to finish. Like, a lot of things went down in this that didn't need to happen. A lot of things didn't make sense. I just didn't get what the author's vision of this world was, or like what the story was supposed to be, because things would be mentioned, but then they had like little to no bearing on the plot. And there was a lot of essay and just straight up violence against the main female character that did not feel as if it needed to be there. Didn't feel as if it moved the plot forward at all. I'm of two minds about this because on the one hand, I really enjoyed the main characters and I enjoyed too kind of their romance together. And I also enjoyed the world that she set up. But at the same time, there was so much violence going on towards the main character that made, I mean, I guess it made sense. It made sense to her to put it in, but it didn't lead anywhere. It didn't feel meaningful. It didn't even impact her ability to do other things in the story. She would just be like, oh yeah, so-and-so broke my leg, so I couldn't escape. And we moved on from that as if that was something normal that happens every single day. It was crazy to me. I think I gave the book 3 stars. I just think tonally, a lot was going on in this that just did not compute for me. But I really liked the main characters. And in fact, I'm tempted to carry on. I think it's a duology. I'm tempted to read the second one because I thought it was well written and I thought the characters were well done. But otherwise, I don't know. This was kind of a disappointment to me, probably the biggest disappointment of the ones that I have read on vacation this year. So I'm kind of open right now. I started my new fantasy romance that I bought at the bookstore by C.L. Wilson. I'm kind of obsessed with it. It's like such a dense fantasy world and it's so dreamy and sea-like. It's just really perfect to be reading it and like watching the ocean. I saw dolphins. I have seen dolphins every single day this year. So I'm a very happy person. Dolphins are like my favorite animals other than bunnies. I love bunnies and I love dolphins. And the other day I saw a bunny out here and a dolphin, so it was just like a perfect mix for me. But the world is just very dreamy. It's very lush. There's something about it that's just really cozy, nostalgic to me, but it's so dense. I feel like I'm really struggling to keep up with the political machinations of the world and like what each character does in the world. So we'll see. I'm going to carry on with it. It's 600 pages, so it might be the very last book that I read on vacation this year, but it seems appropriate to be reading like a sea-themed fantasy romance while at the sea. Well, forgive my hair, forgive this horrible lighting. I thought maybe you could see the ocean this way, but it is sadly our last day. I just took my shower, so I'm settling in for my last evening, getting everything packed up and getting ready to go home. Today and yesterday were pretty much a wash in terms of being outside. It has been pouring down rain specifically today, and we're under like a gale warning and everything, which is kind of cool actually. And so I really love seeing the sea like this. And yesterday, to kind of beat the rain, we went to the aquarium, which is one of my favorite places to be. So it was really fun. But in terms of reading updates, I mean, I feel like I've read so much on this vacation, and I've tried to keep the updates very short and pithy because I knew I was going to read a lot. I was in a really big reading mood when we came down here. But I unfortunately went into a bit of like, I mean, not a reading slump, because how long did it last? 8 hours. But after finishing Book Lovers, I really just felt like nothing was going to scratch that itch for me. I loved that. I really did. I wound up reading something on my Kindle to kind of break things up a bit. And so I read Magnolia Parks. I have so many complex emotions about that I'm just gonna save that for my wrap up because I did fully intend to update in the middle of it, but I read it so fast. This morning, I went back to the Island bookstore, and because I guess maybe like Tuesday, they get in new books for the week, they had another Emily Henry. And so I picked up People We Meet on Vacation, and I just started it. I'm 100 pages in, obsessed. I am obsessed with this. I don't know what has happened to me. I don't know why I am now all of a sudden a romance girly, but this is everything to me. The characterization that happened in Book Lovers was insane on every level. It just was perfect, and this already 100 pages in has so much heart. There's such a level of complexity to it that I just didn't assume would be there, I guess. When I think about like rom-coms that you watch as a film, I don't get a lot out of them emotionally. I don't feel a lot of attachment to what's going on. I feel like they're normally just kind of placeholders. They're things to watch and laugh at, and that's basically it. But I feel like these books, though they are marketed as rom-coms, have such an intense level of heart. And a lot of it, I think, is just in general her writing style. I feel like she is an incredible author, and I think that really shows in how good the banter is. There's a lot that's just outright funny that these people say to each other, and there's a lot that's really, really intense kind of in terms of character interaction, but it always feels real to me. Sometimes you're reading a book and you're like, this isn't real. Nobody would actually say that. And maybe in terms of banter, this is out of the realm of possibility. But I just feel like people react to situations in a realistic way. I feel like the situations themselves are realistic, but at the same time, the book reads like a fantasy world. I don't know. I'm having so many emotions with this, all of them positive. Possibly a new favorite author alert. I am obsessed with her. Obsessed. And so I really can't wait to read more of this. I think this is how I'll spend my evening once I finish packing everything up, sad to say. I think I mentioned that I was in the middle of The Sea King, and I still am. Apparently, I'm only on page 73, but this is the second book in a series. And I feel like I'm missing a lot of context for the world in terms of what happened politically in the first book. I think, too, I assumed a fantasy romance would probably not have very high stakes or high world building. This has had some really amazing world building. There's something really cozy and nostalgic about this. And I think it is specifically the world and the way in which the world is designed. I am really interested in just kind of the facets of the political power, but also in general, the way that she has described setting in here is insane. I am loving this. I went ahead and ordered the first book in the series just because I feel like I should pause in reading this. I should read the first one and then come back into this. Though, of course, this is the ideal book to have been reading at the beach because it is all about like a sea kingdom and people who can commune with fish, which is, you know what, my dream. I know people laugh about Aquaman, but growing up, Aquaman was always my favorite in the Justice League because he could communicate with fish. Like, I'm sorry, that's objectively cool. This is really good. I mean, really good. And so I'm going to pause in this. I really did think it would probably be a series you could read out of order, but I don't think that's the case. I think I would just be happier if I read the first one first. So I'm really happy with all of the reading that got done. I feel like I went through a bunch of different genres, and there were several books that I picked up that I just didn't move any further with. I didn't fully commit to, let's say. I'm not gonna say that I DNF'd anything, but there were a few books I started and I just said, I'm not feeling it right now. And so I'm definitely gonna come back to a lot of these things, but it's been just a full week of reading for me, so it's been really fabulous. I would love to know down below if you have read any of these. I would love to know what you enjoy reading on vacation, but that's going to be all from me today. I hope you're all having a great week. Happy reading. Goodbye.